All right, welcome back to Flight Sim 2020 and welcome back to the Neofly series. This is, of course, episode 9. And if you remember correctly, back in episode 8, we ferried a bunch of passengers from the lodges around the Masai Mara area here to Musiara HK48. And today we're flying a new aircraft, which is here in front of us. So a new aircraft for our Neofly series. This is, of course, the SimWorks Studios PC-12, and as you can see, we're loaded up. Our executive passengers are all on board. It's a beautiful afternoon here in the Masai Mara for flying, and we're going to be taking our VIP passengers, our executive passengers, from here in the Mara back to Kilimanjaro. They're going to be then ferried out to different places. I think there's a couple heading back to South Africa, down to Durban, and there are some heading to Victoria Falls as well. Right, so that's the plan. Our first flight for today is going to take us back down to Kilimanjaro in the PC-12, and then we're going to chat about what we're doing next, because we've got some issues that we need to solve. But that'll be happening on the next flight. So first of all, it's time to get our brand new PC-12 up and running. So let's get rid of these covers, and we can put these guys up out of the way. Right, so we are cold and dark. We just finished off some paperwork, made our way across. Like I said, it is kind of late afternoon here. It's a beautiful afternoon for flying. But the PC-12 is kind of perfect for these type of operations because, number one, it flies higher than the other aircraft that we've got out here. So like the Islanders, the Trilanders, and Kodiaks. So it can go nice and high, get over the kind of rain showers and things that we often find out here in the Mara. And of course, it's also quite a bit faster. So you'll see getting to Kilimanjaro from here in the Mara is actually going to be fairly quick compared to the flights we've done before in like the Kodiak and stuff like that. Right, let's start going through our pre-flight checks. So we're going to make sure that the landing gear lever is down. Make sure that we have circuit breakers. None of them have popped out, so we would see that white band if they did. Okay, we can then come up here and make sure that the batteries and everything are off for now. External power we don't have. That's all fine. So we can then turn on our batteries at this point. Check that we've got more than 24 volts, which we do. Okay, non-essential bus should be set to override, which it is. Then we're going to check our external lights. So let's turn on nav, beacon, and strobe. We'll do landing lights as well. I don't know if we can see them from here. We can kind of see the nav lights. You can see the strobe lights flashing. So I think we're fine for that. Let's leave the nav lights on, and I think we can leave the beacon on as well. But we need to do some tests. So fire switch, we turn that on, and then we come down here and check that we have engine fire, which we do. We can turn that off. Lamp switch, make sure that all the lights come on. That also looks good. Right, boost pumps on and then auto. Make sure left is working and right is working. Slightly different sounds there, very cool. Ignition to on, you can hear that clicking. And back to auto. Then we come down here to our EIS and we test that, make sure that runs through its test. Okay, and that's done. We can then reset our fuel. And sometimes I think you have to click this twice, but we'll make sure. So fuel quantities come up. Okay, so I think that's fine. Obviously, this won't populate until the engine's on, so I think we're good for now. Okay, oxygen pressure. So we can come down here and check that we have pressure, and we can set this guy to auto. Okay, that's done. Right, then this needs to come on. Right, then we can come down here. Let's hide the yoke for now. Okay, so we need to check. These switches should both be set to well, not both of them, just this one should be set to normal. I'm actually going to set our recognition lights on pulse because I believe it helps with birds, which is quite a possibility here in the game reserve. Okay, cabin pressure set to auto and guarded. Temperature interrupt switch. Trim interrupt switch. And flap interrupt switch, both normal. Okay, we've set that to on already. Oxygen masks and pressure checked. Cockpit and cabin lights set. Right, and we've done our exterior check already. So then before start, control wheel lock is removed, parking brake. Okay, let's make sure that that is set. And it is. Okay, chocks are removed, fuel caps secure, crew and seatbelts, that's all checked. Overhead electrical switches, all off except for the batteries. Then, inertial separator we can open. Seatbelt and no smoking signs on. Circuit breakers we've checked. EPS we can set to armed. ECS switch should be off, which it is. Condition lever. Let's just sync that. It should be all the way back. And obviously throttles at idle. Or throttle, there's only one. But it's actually a power control. Okay, then nav lights are on. External power we don't have. We've reset our fuel. Landing gear down 3 green. And is this appropriate for what we have now? Yes, it is, because those things are all off. Okay, beacon light is on. Engine area is clear. Passengers are all on board and secured. That was done before we got on anyway, because we just stepped out to do some paperwork. So now we can go ahead and engage the starter switch. Right, we'll watch as our engine comes up. And then we can go ahead and introduce the fuel to ground idle. Right, so the ITT came up, it didn't go anywhere near the limit. Give that a chance to kind of stabilize. That's pretty stable, it's kind of dropping off, but that's fine. So now we can come up here and turn on generators. 1, 2. Okay, external power we don't have. Avionics 1 and 2 on. Standby bus should be off, which it is. Cooling and heating, we get these guys on. We don't need the heating today. That's fine, we'll turn on the probes as well. Right, then we can come down here and do ECS to auto, and that light should extinguish. That's good. Set this guy to standby. Flaps 15 while we're here. Okay, let those sync up. Right, now we've got a couple of tests that we need to do. Okay, I'm not actually sure what this does. I'm gonna have it set to generator 1. It does say switch. So I don't know if that means switch it from where it was to battery, or if it should be switched to generator. It doesn't say what we should set it to. So if you know, let me know. I'm going to leave it on generator 1 for now. Okay, then we need to do the pusher test. So let's see if I can remember how to do this. So we need to have the engine running, and we need to be flaps 15, which we are. Then, let's get our yoke back. We switch on the pusher test, and then parking brake is set. We advance the throttle until it begins the test, like that. Okay, we wait for it to push. We then click this button, wait for the light to come back on, like that. We can then push the button again and then come up here and disconnect the test, and we can bring the throttles back. And now we've extinguished that pusher light. So that is our pusher test complete. Right, then the other thing we need to check is our pressurization. So we're going to go up to, we're doing 15,000 feet today. So we'll dial this up to 15 and a bit. We can probably make this up a little bit. We're going to climb out at 1,000 feet per minute, just keep it nice and comfortable. Okay, so we can dial this up to 15,000. Set this to vertical speed and dial that up to 1,000. Okay, on that, dial that up to 1,000. Okay, that should be good. I think we have to push this once we're actually in the air. So that's fine. Let's just do that. We'll obviously double check that once we're up. Okay, we need to do this test for the autopilot.
Warning, autopilot trim.
Oh, we probably also need a route for today. So our route is very simple. We are starting here. Make a big difference if you use the correct GPS. That's HK48. And nice and simple, we're going to HT AJ. Like so. Right, we might as well do our procedures. There's nothing for this airport, but we're going to be doing ILS 9. And let's just go for vectors. We'll kind of go straight in anyway. It's pretty simple. The only thing that does, because we don't have any other waypoints, is that you'll see it disappears here. So we must just go direct to that waypoint once airborne. That's fine. Okay, we might as well put this on alt now anyway, because we're about to taxi out. It all looks clear. Flaps are set for takeoff. Okay, before taxi check is done, taxi check, flight controls. Free and clear. Flight instruments are checked and set. Altimeter 1019. Flight director to go around. I don't actually know how to do that. So I thought that would be by pushing this. So let's turn on our flight director. And then I thought if you push this button here, it would set it to the go around position, but it doesn't seem to do that. So I'm not actually sure how to do that. Okay, altitude is set. Heading bug will sync once we get onto the runway. Trim set for takeoff. Now this is an interesting one. So we're going to come down here and just check that all of those are in the green. Okay, so that's good. Oh, we've done the EGPWS test. I think that's what we did when we tested that, was it? Or do we have a different test for that somewhere else? No, I think that was when we did our autopilot test. That was part of it, if I remember correctly. Okay. Briefing is complete, right. Let's make our way out to the runway. Okay, in reality we wouldn't have all these vehicles here in our way. I'm just trying to go through them here. Oh great, that one's moving. Right, kicking the episode off with the classic someone drives through me scenario. Oh great, are you gonna stop right? Brilliant. Okay, we'll just ignore that. Okay, as we're coming onto the runway, let's go landing lights and strobes on. Double check that that works. Cool. And I'll do the recognition lights now as well. I actually just don't have a button on my HOTAS for that. Because we've got a couple of things to do here. So let's do recognition lights, which will give us our pulse. You can see there. We need to go condition flight idle. Synchronize our heading. We can put this into heading mode, and we'll also no, that's fine for now. Okay, final items: flaps set, lights set, ice protection not required aside from the inertial separator. Condition neither flight idle, cause is clear. Let's make our way to Kilimanjaro. Bring the gear up. And flaps coming up. Loads of power, this aircraft. So I think we'll actually climb out at 1,500. Doing about 1,000 now. Maybe we'll stick to our 1,000. Yeah, there, if I let it go, at 150 knots, it wants to climb at about 3,000 feet per minute, which is just sick. Yeah, very, very powerful aircraft. Nice and fast. It means we're going to get in between these airports much quicker for our executive passengers, which is cool. Okay, so yeah, let's do 1,500 per minute climb out. Right, so let's sync up our heading again. And we'll hit the autopilot and the yaw damper on. Okay, so let's do a 1,500 feet per minute climb. Then we just need to come down here and go to our flight plan and say I guess we'd go direct to that one. I don't know why. That's a bit strange. Let's see, let's go direct there and see what happens. Okay, so what I need to do is just go this way a bit. possibly even more actually. And then we'll just intercept that GPS course. Okay, we're set to GPS. So if we click this over, that's now armed and we'll intercept that route. Okay, that's done. Then after takeoff, landing gear up, yaw damper is on, landing and taxi lights off. Ice protection, we can turn this off now. And we should just come down here and check our pressurization. And that appears to be working just fine. Engine instruments all in the green. We can back the power off a little bit. And that's it. We're already passing through 11,000 feet. We're only going up to 15. So I'm actually not going to switch over to standard. We'll just stay on 1019 and I'll check Kilimanjaro's altimeter once we get close. Right, so we're expecting just over 40 minutes. So about 45 minutes to Kilimanjaro itself, but that's going to drop quite significantly once we get up to our cruising altitude in a few minutes, because we'll speed up quite a bit once we get there. Really like the floodlights, to be honest. I think these just control the panel lights here. Kind of makes sense, but then this should control the floodlights. Okay, so that's a bit better. So you can have it on just a little bit. We don't need that for now, but we'll keep the panel lights on because it's probably going to start getting dark as we go. Ground speed now 213. We're coming up just to 13,500 feet. And then we'll pick up some quite quickly. So we're probably looking at about half an hour out to Kilimanjaro. No weather to dodge today by the looks of things. There's a little bit of cloud out there around the hills, but no storms in the Mara this afternoon. Beautiful evening for flying. Okay, that means we've got 1,000 feet to go to our cruise. Okay, so we check our power's good, everything's in the green. Keeping an eye on that ITT. Fuel, we've got just over 1,100 pounds on board, with an endurance of about 2 hours, which is plenty. Okay, now if you look at the GPS and watch that time en route drop as we pick up speed. So we're up to 222 ground speed. Now then I actually want to check cabin temperature. 21 degrees. That's fine, I guess. Pressure stable, all in the green. Everything looks good. So there, coming down, we're now 252 ground speed and still slowly climbing. Well, the speed's climbing. in terms of altitude, we're level. So yeah, look, like I said, looking at about half an hour's flight time, just over half an hour to Kilimanjaro. Okay, so while we're cruising along, we don't have, still nothing in terms of weather to worry about, just a few, does look like a bit of cloud over on the horizon, so maybe as we get closer to Kilimanjaro we might run into a bit of weather. Let's have a look. I'm just quickly going to check the weather for Kilimanjaro. Okay, Kilimanjaro was updated 1 hour ago, VFR 3 hours ago, and the rest of the NOTAMs before, the METARs before that were all marginal VFR, so it seems like they had a bit of weather there, but it's gotten better in the last 2 hours. 2 hours ago reported VFR, and an hour ago also VFR. Wind 140 at 7 knots. Visibility 10k or more, scattered clouds at 2,900 feet. So that's probably some of the clouds we're seeing out there in the distance. Might still be around. Temperature 27, nice and hot, QNH 1020. So we might as well actually just dial this up to Kilimanjaro's altimeter because that's where we're heading anyway. So that's the latest that we've got. Just looking at the predictions, nothing predicted in terms of significant weather, rain or anything like that for the rest of the day. However, tomorrow morning there is quite a bit of rain, thick overcast clouds that are fairly low. So the morning is going to be interesting, which brings us to the next point. So after this flight, we're taking this PC-12 with no passengers down to Bujumbura in Burundi to rescue one of our Dash 7s that has gone technical there on one of the airline flights. So they are due to fly back in the afternoon, but they need some parts, so we're gonna load that up in the morning and head down to Burundi with the parts so that they can fix the Dash 7 and complete their airline flight in the afternoon. Now that airport it's quite interesting to fly into because it's surrounded by mountains on either sides, and you've also got like the lake in front of it, so it's actually quite a fun instrument approach if you follow it. So that's what we're going to be doing. We'll be following the instrument procedure into Bujumbura tomorrow morning, but it also looks like our departure from Kilimanjaro might be quite interesting considering it's predicting low clouds, overcast with rain, so we'll see how that goes. Right, but for now we've kind of just got a good 20 minutes or so to cruise along. So I think I'll join you again when it's time to prep for our descent. Alright, so we're just coming up to Mount Meru over here, and we do need to start descending. So we're intercepting the ILS at 5540. So we'll dial in, let's do 56. We got about 20 miles to go, so I think once we pass Mount Meru we'll start our descent, because we're kind of just gonna go over to the right hand side here. As you can see, the sun is now, well, the sun has basically set. Still a bit of light on the horizon, but while we're here we might as well dial in frequencies. So 110.9, so we can simply flip those, and it is a course of 88. but I don't think we can set this course while we're in GPS mode, so that's fine. So what I'm actually going to do is sync up our heading. Let's stick this in heading mode. Flip this over to localizer. And then we can dial this to 88. Like so. And we can start our descent. I actually do want to keep the speed up here so we can get in as quickly as possible. Okay, localizer is alive. Doesn't appear yet that the glide slope is. How can I change the brightness on this screen? I thought there would have been like little controls on the side here. It's not controlled by this panel, is it? No. Okay, if I keep messing around with that, I'm gonna miss something here. So let's arm our approach mode. Is there anything up here for brightness? Doesn't look like it. Thought it would have been here on the side then. Don't see anything here. Ah, there we go. On here. Right, that's way better. Okay, so we should intercept. Oh wow, we're far too high. Okay, what I'm gonna do then, let's disengage this. And we're just gonna do a 360 here to the right. Yeah, I totally misjudged that altitude. I guess that's why they have that little... If you look at the chart, you'll see it takes you out to the Kilimanjaro NDB, which I guess helps you avoid Mount Meru. That's probably why that's there, to be honest. Okay, we can make this a little quicker. Anyway, not the end of the world. We'll just do a bit of an orbit here. Okay, even now we might still be a little high. Concern now is the speed. I don't think we're going to be able to slow down in time. So what do we know? 150, 175-ish. We can lower the gear to 177. So let's do that. It'll help us slow down a bit as well. There we go. You can see the speed coming down, which is exactly what we want. Okay, let's do landing recognition, and we might as well do taxi lights while we're here as well. Okay, we'll disconnect the autopilot. Take control here. Yeah, we're pretty much back on the glide slope here. It does feel like we have a little bit of a crosswind. Start getting flaps in. A little bit bumpy. Speed's fine, but we're a bit high again. And definitely got a nice crosswind from the right to deal with. So keep that in mind. Whoa. We've got plenty of runway to work with, so I'm not going to rush it. did kind of just miss the taxiway. So I'll just turn around here.
Warning, trim.
Yeah, that will fix just now. What I am gonna do though is just come down here and turn this off pulse. Alright, there we are, arrived at Kilimanjaro. Let's turn off the strobes and the landing lights. Now we can set this guy to standby and bring the flaps up as well. And we'll go all the way out to the usual apron that we use. Quite a bit windier on approach than I was actually expecting, because the weather report that we had said 7 knots. I mean, we had gusts there. I think 15 was the highest that I saw. So as we kind of got closer to the airport, the wind actually did get a bit intense. But anyway, we made it safely onto the ground. Okay, there's our hangar at the end there. So we're gonna now do a right turn onto Sierra. This is Romeo. This is area here. Quite weird taxiing this aircraft, because it has a tendency where like you steer but it doesn't want to turn, and then when you it feels like you're going too fast, and then you put on the brakes and it kind of just like digs in and jumps to whichever side you're steering to. They're going in there, so we'll park nice and close here. Right, let's run through our shutdown checklist. Okay, parking brake is set, so we can turn off the ECS. Taxi lights off, transponder standby, cooling and heating can switch that off for now. Avionics.
Warning, avionic bus.
Generators.
Warning, essential bus. Warning, essential bus. Generator 2.
Okay, stable ITT. Yes, we have. So we can go cut off on the condition lever. And then beacon light off. EPS to off. We put in our control wheel lock. And then some other things that we set up that can come off. That's all fine. We might as well turn off these lights. Like so. I think that's it. This can go back. That's set. That's all good. Cool. Up here, let's turn these guys off. Turn the nav. We might as well leave the nav lights on, to be honest. And then the last thing to do is parking brake. Right, so we'll let our passengers disembark, but I will join you guys again early tomorrow morning, where we're taking some parts down to Burundi, to Bujumbura to rescue our stranded Dash 8. Let's see what the weather looks like in the morning. So I'll see you in a bit. All right, well, good morning. You joined me this morning inside the aircraft for obvious reason. It seems the weather forecast was correct. We've got, it's not super heavy rain, but it's raining pretty hard. And it is indeed overcast. The interesting thing, which I didn't actually check yesterday on our way down here, it seems like we might have the same kind of conditions when we arrive in Burundi. So that's going to make things very interesting with our instrument approach through the mountains. It seems like a bit less rain that side, but certainly some cloud. Possibly not as low as it is here, but we are going to have, well, the prediction is that we're going to have some sort of overcast conditions, as it seems like the rain is kind of easing up, but still some low vis to deal with getting out of Kilimanjaro. So I think everything's loaded up. So the ground crew's taken out the seats overnight and made space for the cargo. So we've got a couple of components loaded up in the back. We fueled up almost full fuel, but basically enough to get there and back as well. So we're pretty heavy here. Well, we're going to be quite heavy getting out of Kilimanjaro and landing at Burundi because we're keeping all that fuel with us. Coming out of Burundi will be fine because we're probably going to be empty in terms of payload, but still obviously quite a bit of fuel to get back here. So let's go through our pre-flight, make sure that our landing gear handle is down. That's not what I wanted to do. Let's just get rid of that. Okay, landing gear lever is down. Circuit breakers, no white strips, so that's all good. Right, then we can come up here and do batteries on. More than 24 volts. Non-essential bus to auto. Okay, fire switch. Again, we double check that that's there, so that's cool. Lamp switch. Looks good. Right, boost pumps. Left and right. Ignition checked, and then all back to auto. EIS. We come down here. Do this test again. I say again because in the case of the video, we kind of just did this yesterday. Well, it was yesterday. In the case of the video, it was half an hour or so ago. Right, that's tested. Let's just reset our fuel quantity, but there we can see we should have a bit more than that. There we go. That's better. Okay. Oxygen pressure. We do have pressure. We set this to auto. And then this guy to on. Right, let's remove the control lock now. Make sure that this is set to normal. We can set that to pulse. EPS set to test. There's the test, and then we set to armed. Right, cabin pressure auto and guarded. These two guys down here, normal and guarded. Oxygen masks and pressure checked. Cabin lights, we'll turn on the panel lights for now. Maybe a little bit of floodlight. And exterior check is complete. Luckily, I don't have to go out there, although the rain seems to have stopped, so... visibility hasn't changed at all, but it isn't currently raining, although it might start raining again just now. Okay, before start, control wheel lock is removed, parking brake is set, wheel chocks removed, fuel caps secure, seat belts adjusted and secure, all overhead electrical switches are off. Standby bus is off. De-icing will turn on the probes and inertial separator. Circuit breakers we've already checked. EPS is armed. ECS is off. Then condition lever should be all the way back, which it is. Double check that throttle's there and everything else is neutral. Then nav lights are already on. Let's turn on the beacon. Make sure that we've set the fuel, which we have, and this seems fine considering that the engine is off. Right. Propeller area is clear. Let's come up here. Turn on the starter. We'll keep an eye on the NG. And we can introduce the fuel to ground idle. Right, monitor our engine gauges. Make sure that that ITT doesn't go into the red. Okay, it's now dropping, so we've got a good start. Okay, engine instruments checked. Generators we can now turn on. 1 and 2. External power we don't have. Avionics 2 and 1. Standby bus is off. Cooling on. EPS light should be out, which it is. Let's turn the ECS to auto, and that light should go out as well. Stabilizer trim, we need to bring that down. Okay, that light is extinguished, and we'll do our pusher check again. So, the pusher button on. Flaps 15 we need to have. Okay, bring the throttle forward. Right, it hasn't started that check. Let's disengage this. Okay, flaps are 15. There we go. Wait for it to go forward. Disengage. Wait for the light. Lights there. Disengage. Throttle back. Pusher off. Right, that's checked. We might as well turn on the recognition. No, taxi lights for now is all we need, I think. And then we need to come down here and program in our route. So we can actually clear this from yesterday. We're starting off at HTK J, of course, where we landed yesterday evening. Okay, then I've got this programmed up here in Navigraph for us. Right, so our first waypoint is Avatu. Okay, so this is going to take me a while to program in, so I'll see you again once we've got this set up and we'll talk through our departure and arrival. Okay, so there's our route programmed in. The last thing I need to do is obviously the airport, which is BB. Like so. Then our procedure for departure today is exactly that one. No, it's a VAR2 1 Alpha, which is this one. From runway 9, we can load that up. And our arrival, we are going to be doing... we're not actually doing an arrival. We're doing an approach, which is ILS 17, and we're going via... RG, is that possible? Yes. Okay, which means we're actually going to be doing a DME arc, which I see it's programmed in, but we're going to be kind of checking that the analog way as well as we go. Right, I think that's all set. We can flip this over to GPS. Let's just zoom out here, or actually let's flip these over. Use the bigger screen here. Sounds like it's starting to rain again. Okay, 6,500 feet. Then we should... So this, I don't think it's going to do it properly. So if we look at the charts, which I have in front of me, when we get to Burundi, I'll bring up the charts in the sim so it's easier to see what I'm talking about. But on the chart, we need to do a right turn at 6,500. So that we stay away from Mount Kilimanjaro and all that high terrain. So we might have to do that ourselves. Why does this keep changing? Probably because I haven't done this. And I need to set this down
Warning,
here.
autopilot tree.
Yes. Now it should stay like that. Oh wow, what the hell is this that's parked in front of us here? That's interesting. That wasn't there when I started programming the GPS. Also, it is definitely raining. It seems to be raining even harder than it was before. Okay, so we'll keep an eye on that. So I think what we'll do is heading mode for departure. And we'll program in our right turn and then go direct to the next waypoint, which is... we then intercept a radial. Do we? For runway 09. Climb 6,500. Turn right to intercept KV 283. Okay, we're going to do this part manually because it doesn't seem to have programmed that in, which fine. So we can actually flip this over for now to the localizer. So that is 283. From KV, which is 115.3. So let's go here. And flip those. Okay, 115.3. And we want a radial of 283. So let's dial this up to 283. So it's going to be a right turn at 6,500 feet to intercept this radial, and we follow that to the waypoint of VAR2, and from there we proceed on course 283 like so. Right, I think we're finally good to go. Flaps are set. Lights are on. Let's just quickly go back to our checklist. Before taxi, we've done push a test. Avionics are now set. Pressure's dropped quite a lot. And that's done, that's done. Oh, altitude pre-select was the other thing I needed to do. Right, so let's just I do this, it should set it back to 0, right? No. Okay, we want to go up at 1500. Like so. And we're going up to 23,000. Right, that's armed, that's on, that's set. We'll go heading mode, flight director is on. Cool. Let's taxi out of here. Yeah, I don't know what this thing is, but it shouldn't be here. Wow, this has actually gotten pretty bad. Oh yes, of course, now you decide to move around. This weather has actually gotten way worse since we got into the aircraft. What are the takeoff minimums? Uh, 250 meters. See, now, we don't have the tower to give us the information, but I don't know if we would actually be taking off in reality. This is really bad, actually. Okay, let's concentrate and make sure we taxi the right way here. So this is Sierra that we're getting onto, which means we need to turn right on Yankee, and that will take us all the way to the threshold for 09. Okay, visibility seems to be getting a little bit clearer. I can definitely see a bit further than when we started taxiing. Oh, it kind of comes and goes. The rain is getting worse though. I hope it's not this bad in Burundi, because then we're not getting in, which is going to pose another issue in that our -7 flight this afternoon won't be able to leave, and we're going to have a whole bunch of passengers trying to get out here who are stuck in Burundi. What we're about to go into, though, looks even worse on that end of the runway. The other thing to consider is that there are two huge mountains around us. There's one out there, which is Mount Meru, which we saw when we were coming in last night. And then kind of out that way behind us is obviously Kilimanjaro. We can barely even see the hangar. Okay, so this is going to be kind of interesting. But that is exactly why we have that right turn. So we will be fine. This aircraft climbs plenty fast enough to avoid any high terrain if we stay on our departure procedure. So runway heading to 6,500, then right turn to intercept that radial, and that will keep us away from any terrain. So I'm quite happy that if we do that, we will fine to avoid the mountains around us. I wonder how high up this weather actually goes, because obviously going up to 23,000 feet, this isn't stormy weather, this is just kind of like that set in overcast rainy weather, so it shouldn't go up. You know, storms could easily go up to 23,000. I don't think this will go up that high. I'm pretty sure we will climb through and get on top of this fairly quick. Okay, what I'm going to do is turn the pulse lights off because it's going to annoy me in the clouds. I don't know why that view jumps back all the time. That's not any one of my set views, but if I recall the same view twice without realizing, it jumps back to this random view, which is interesting. Oh, the rain is pumping down now. Okay, let's do landing lights, strobe lights, and recognition lights while we're here as well. I am taxiing nice and slowly because it is wet, and I'm also wondering if it's going to clear up. But in fact, the opposite seems to be happening. It's getting worse. I don't know if we could take off with that low visibility. Sure. I mean, basically all I need at this point is to be able to see the center line so that I can keep it on the runway. That's pretty much all we need at the moment. Because once we're airborne, we're following the procedure anyway. So I think that's okay. Are we going to have a decent center line to follow? Not really. It's just these white lines which are difficult to see. Okay, those lights on the side make it doable, I reckon. Oh great, and the wind appears to be directly behind us now. It's pretty light though. Okay, let's go condition flight. I'll set this to on. Okay, runway heading sync. Heading mode, flight directors on, vertical speed is engaged. So kind of once we're up and stable, I'm going to put the autopilot on and we follow that procedure, looking for 6,500 feet. And then right turn, intercept radial 283 to Avatu, and then resume our route from there. Alright, here we go, I guess. Let's see if we can keep it on the runway. I'm going to bring the power in nice and slow, because we've got lots of runway to play with here. Keeping an eye on the torque, keeping an eye on the ITT, and trying to keep us going straight ahead on the runway. It's opening up in terms of visibility a little bit. The visibility is shocking. Okay, I'm just following the flight director now. Let's bring up the gear and we'll get the autopilot on as well. Double check that the autopilot gets us climbing 1,500. We can bring up the flaps. Okay, we are climbing nicely and we're following our heading. We're 3,500 feet, looking for 6,500. Okay, it is a little bit clearer out here compared to over the airport. And we're out of the rain, actually. Right, we can bring a little bit more power in. Wow, okay, it was a fairly intense departure. Okay, we're on heading, your dampers on. Okay, we're coming up to 5,000 feet, so let's turn off the taxi lights. We can turn off the recognition lights. The rest can stay on. We might as well turn off the landing lights now as well. Inertial separator I'm going to keep on while we're in the rain. Back into the heavy rain. Okay, 5,500, 1,000 feet to go, and then we do our right-hand turn. Okay, let's start our turn now. I think we'll go 300 and then arm our localizer. Oh no, we need to intercept from the other side, my bad. Is it gonna switch over? It might actually. Okay, let's just arm that then. And we'll get onto that radial. Okay, 030 was probably about right, yeah. I think that's Mount Mary sticking out there, because Hilly is that way. Anyway, we're just above the rain, which is what I thought would happen. And we're now onto that radial, which will take directly out to Avatu. Okay, after takeoff, landing gears up, yaw damper on, landing and taxi lights off, flaps up, ice protection set. We can actually turn this off now. What was the next one? Pressurization. Ooh, I didn't actually update this. So this time we're going all the way up to 23. So we'll do 23 and a bit, and it is pressurizing. Engine instruments all in the green. Torque is maybe a little high. We can back that off a little. And there we are, settling into our climb. It is actually a beautiful morning up here above the rain. As we're already coming through 11,000 feet. Right, we might as well set standard, which is going to be a big jump, because we're going all the way up to 23,000 now. There's Killy that side, so this is Mount Mary, which makes sense. And we're just passing over the airport, which is kind of underneath us, just to our left. Can't really see it though. Okay, then what we can do, let's just double check that this looks right. It does kind of look like we're heading directly to it. This says 283, we're doing 282, it's pretty close. But what we're going to do is go direct to Avatu. And then from there onwards, that looks good. So let's just do this. Heading hold, we'll flip this over to GPS and then back into nav. Alright, so now all we have to do is climb up another 7,000 feet-ish, 8,000 feet to 23,000 and cruise on over to Bujumbura in Burundi. So, I will join you again when it's time to prep. So we'll probably come back a little bit before we need to start our descent, because we need to go through the procedure, especially if the weather's going to be anything like this on that side. We're going to have to really prepare that procedure and make sure that everything is briefed and good to go, because it's going to be quite a fun instrument procedure into Burundi. So I will see you in a bit. Okay, so in fact, you joined me a little bit sooner. We've kind of only been at cruise for about 3 or 4 minutes, but if you look on the wing, you can see we've got a bit of ice, and we have a bit of ice building up on the windshield as well. So I think we might actually just cruise a bit higher, see if we can get out of this moisture. So, I mean, we can go all the way up to 2.7. See if that can get us out of the ice. While we are doing that, let's come up here and do prop ice. Let's do boots and windshield as well. Oh, these signs should, we might as well put them back
Warning,
on now.
cabin pressure.
Oh, right. The cabin pressure is because we were set for 23, so we're going to change to 27 now. Windshield seems okay already, and the boots have obviously done their job, so that's good. So we can probably let's leave the boots on, turn off the windshield, we'll leave the prop on for sure, and then just see if we start picking up anything more. We haven't even reached Avatu yet. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything building up on the windshield again. So it may have been that we're already out of the kind of layer where the ice is going to form. Nothing building up there. Let's turn the boots off. I suppose we don't really need the signs anyway because we don't have any passengers. We've only got cargo. I think we might have already been outside of the layer where the ice is forming. It just wasn't melting. So it would have just stayed there. Wow, 2.7 is not actually going to get us out of that moisture up ahead. Let's see if we dial this up and do ATR2829. See, nothing appears to be forming again, but we are coming up that little bit of cloud ahead. Looks like we might just skim through the top of it. Outside air temperature -26. I think it's too cold for us to actually get ice on us up here. But if we can get even higher and out of the moisture, that's probably the best option anyway. Yeah, cabin pressure is still not happy. Yeah, cabin pressure lights has gone out. +21. We might actually want to bring that up a little bit. Right, no more icing seems to be building up, so I think we're good for now, but of course we'll keep an eye on it. Probably turn the prop anti-ice off too. Right, looks like we might be heading into a little, maybe just skimming the tops of these clouds, but it seems like we're good for a bit, so I'll keep an eye on it still, and I'll be back if we run into more icing issues. Otherwise, I'll see you when it's time to chat through our arrival procedure. Alright, so we just passed Getab, so basically our next waypoint is the airport, but because we've got that BJA VOR in our waypoint, it's taking us there, but what we should actually be doing is heading to RG, so let's see if we can get that working. So what I want to do is just say from here, let's get on to that point. Okay, so we've got about 16 minutes to go there. The weather still looks pretty much the same. However, at the airport, it's reporting lower cloud base and less rain. So we're still going to be IFR going in for most of it. Hopefully we can actually make it into the airport. Okay, so next what we have to do is start having a look at the approach. So we're going to be landing runway 17, so from the north. So we're gonna head out here to this RG NDB, and then we're gonna basically do a DME arc into runway 17. So we've got this one here. I think it's this one. Yeah. So in terms of altitude, we're intercepting at 6,600, so we do have an ILS. So I think what we're going to do first is we'll put our ILS frequency in, which is 110.1. So that's kind of easy. And then we also want 1123. which is the Bujumbura VOR, and that's what we're going to have set most of the time. And in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have that on nav 2 as well. 1123. I'm not sure if we can do. Can we do? Yeah, see, we can't do VR separately once we're on GPS. If I disengage this, yeah, it does both, and it's going to switch back anyway. Okay, because I was hoping we'd be able to turn this separately over here, but we can't when we're set to GPS. Yeah, that's going to make things a bit interesting. Oh, there we go. Now it's working. Right, so then we can use that to check these points over here. So the first one we're going to want to put in is 024. So we can check that at 024 when we cross that radial. So basically, when this line passes through the middle, we should be at 21. So it's the 21 DME arc. So we should be at 21. We'll check again on 090. Sorry, 009. Okay, so that's dialed in there. Then we need to plan to be at RG at. We need to be above 1,200. Which is coming up in 50 miles. We're at 29,000. So if we do a calculation here, okay, so 29,000, we've got to get to 12,000. That gives us an altitude change of 17,000. We want to do that at 1,500 feet per minute. Okay, what is our ground speed? We're doing about 250. So we want to descend 53 miles out, which is basically where we are now. So we can start our descent. It's fine. I'm not too worried because we just need to be above 12,000. So we're going to descend at 1,500. And I'm just going to manage the power so we don't speed up too much. Right. Once we pass that, we're going to stay at about 12,000. And then 24 DME from the VOR, we want to go down to 11,000. And then 9,000 on this part, 8,000 on that part. So we're going to kind of slowly descend. Once we start our turn, we'll be descending down to 600. And at that point, we will be then looking to capture the ILS. Right, maximum of 180 knots, true airspeed. So we need to pay attention to that. Does this aircraft give us true airspeed somewhere? I think it does. I thought it was here. There. Is that ground speed? I think that's ground speed. Okay, well, we're gonna be probably around 160 knots indicated there, so we should be fine. Right, so we're now aiming for 12,000 feet or above by RG, and we don't really have to fly this DME arc manually because it does, or it is loaded in the GPS. But I am going to use those radials to double check that we're at the correct distance, just to make sure that our GPS course has us doing the right thing. Alright, then it's fairly simple. At the 001, is that one written? Yeah, this is written this way. These are all written that way. So 001 radial, we start our turn to intercept the ILS 112.3, which we have set there. No, that's the VOR. 110.1, which we have set as our standby frequency. And in fact, we can flip those over now because we're going to do all of the VOR radials on nav2. Why did that change? Oh, that's pulling from nav1. Okay, so that actually allows us to do something cool. So nav1 set to 24, and we'll put 2 to 009. Like so. Oh, brilliant, I just changed one. So 1 to 24, 2 to 9. There we go, and we can flip between those. Then all I have to do is, once we flipped over to 2, dial 1 to 001. Then we have our 3 radials that we need to check our approach. Right, we're also going to keep an eye for icing as we come in here. Okay, but that's the approach. Is there anything else we need to brew? I think that's fine. Oh, minimums of... So I guess we do 2795. But we would be doing radio, I suppose. Because our decision height is down here. So then it would be 213. That actually might come into play because the clouds appear to be pretty low at the airport. So we may have to go around, which we'll then brief next. So 213. Okay, the cloud doesn't actually look too bad. It's kind of patchy. We can see the ground, so it's not as bad as I thought. We'll see as we get closer to the airport as well. Right, then, if we have to go around, climb 191. So I think I'm actually just going to set my heading to that now already. And then it would be ATC would direct us in reality. So I think what we'll do is climb on 191 to so they give us minimum hold of 9,500. That's very high though. You know what, it's actually not too bad. So we'll climb a 191 to 9,500. And once we've passed, what would be safe here? Let's say 5,000 feet. 4.5. So once we've crossed 4,500 feet, we will make our turn back to this VOR and then join with the procedure turn back onto the ILS. I think that makes the most sense. That's if we have to go around. I think we can give it 2 attempts, and at that point, if we can't get into the airport, we will then come here to BN, hold at 9,500 feet, and then decide on an alternate, or see if we think the weather's going to improve, if we can possibly get in after a bit of holding. We got plenty of fuel, but I think at that point we'd probably check out alternates and end up diverting somewhere. Okay, but I think that's it in terms of briefing our approach. Right, let's have a look at how we're doing. So we are 12 miles out and we're at 15,000 feet. So I'm going to bring some power back in. We can actually pick up the speed a little bit. Because we're descending quicker than we really need to. Okay. Then, in terms of prepping for landing, decision height is set, approach is briefed, frequencies are set, and missed approach is briefed as well. Okay, I'm going to keep this chart open on my iPad in front so I can refer to that as we go. We can get that out the way for now. So this, I think, what we're seeing up ahead is the beginnings of the mountain range that surrounds the airport. And I think that weather is going to be sitting down in that valley where the airport is. So it's probably going to be worse than what it looks like out here. So you can see it's kind of thicker in there. Here's the mountain range here, and there's probably the other side of it. So it looks like it's going to be, it actually looks kind of rainy underneath there. So I think we're going to have this nice patchy cloud out here is kind of a false indication of what it's going to look like in the valley. So I mean, these mountains that surround the airport here, the airport is at, airport elevation is 2,500 feet, whereas the mountains here surrounding it go up to, in some cases, just under 9,000 feet. So there's quite a big difference there. Okay, let's do landing lights and recognition lights. I'm going to turn on the inertial separator as well. That's 1,000 feet to our 12,000 foot restriction. And I'm going to start slowing down a little. Okay, we're just above 12,000 feet and we're about to start our turn to the left here at RG, so everything's looking good. We can then start a nice slow descent to 11,000. And in fact, I'm going to dial that in now already, since we are fine on the restriction. Oh, our nav has switched off because I've been messing around with frequencies. That's not good. Okay, I'm going to really bring the power back here and slow us down so we can get back on course. That is a bad mistake. I didn't notice that until we didn't start turning in time. Yeah, that's our 11,000 feet. When we start turning right, we're going to go down and start a slow descent to 8,000 feet. Right, at this waypoint, we should be 24 miles from the VOR, which is looking pretty good. We just need to get back onto our GPS course now, but this is going to mess things up quite a bit. Having to turn left at this point, we kind of want to start turning right. Okay, I'm going to get the first notch of flaps in so that we can take this nice and slow and make all of these turns easily. We'll keep the speed up to about 120. 125 to 130. Okay, we're back on that profile, so let's set our heading back to 191. Okay, there's the turn. At this point, we want this to be pretty close to 21 the whole time. Yeah, 20.9, 21. Cool. So we're on the 21 DME arc. Right, let's just get our altimeter 1008. Okay, so far we're keeping perfectly at the correct distance. Okay, I'm going to flip this over to 2. And what I'm actually going to do here is dial this course all the way down to 1 so we can check that we turn at the correct place. That DME is staying at exactly 21, so I'm happy that that's accurate. I'm going to flip this over to our ILS frequency. Okay, altitude check, we should be at about 9,000. So we can actually descend a little bit slower. So 3 miles we want to be at about 9,000 feet, which is why I'm slowing down a bit our vertical speed. Okay, and we're looking good in terms of restrictions, so I'm actually going to dial this down to our 6,600 intercept altitude. So 1 mile, 0.8 of a mile, we need to be at 9,000, so we're pretty close. Okay, the next point, which is where this line is going to line up, that's where we start our left-hand turn to enter the ILS, or sorry, to capture the ILS. And at that point, we should be at about 8,000 feet. The weather looks alright. There are still some patches here. It's definitely raining underneath these clouds in some patches. But there's quite a bit of light coming through. Hopefully it's just an open area like this over the airport. Yeah, 8,000 pretty much on the dot. Now we should start our right turn to line up with the runway. Okay, and at this point I'm going to arm the approach, which it looks like we've already captured. So I can come down here and set this correctly. So we are 175. Okay, localizes capture, and glide slope we're still a bit underneath, which is perfect. We're going to level off here. There's our 6,600. Okay, this I'm then going to dial up to 1,500, and in fact we'll do 2,000 in case we have to go around. And we'll dial it up to 9,500. Yeah, everything's looking good. Right, landing lights on, recognition lights on. Let's do taxi lights as well. altimeters are set. Inertial separators open. Briefing is complete. All we need to do now is landing gear. We're coming up to 1 dot above the glide slope, so we'll put the gear down shortly. And then obviously the rest of the flaps. Missed approach altitude is set. Okay, missed approach. We go into heading mode, 191, which takes us slightly to the right. And then passing 4,500 feet, we'll turn around and go back to the VOR. Okay, let's go gear down now. Right, on climb to 9,500 feet. We head back to the VOR BJA. That frequency is 112.3, which is set as our standby frequency, so we can flip that over. And then we will just do the procedure turn to join back onto the ILS for runway 17. Looks like our visibility should be fine. Just over 5 miles to go. Let's start getting the rest of our flaps in. Okay, before landing checklist, landing gear down, 3 green, flaps full. Landing and taxi lights are on. And then autopilot and yaw damper we will disengage a little bit closer. Keeping it on so that the yaw damper can set our rudder trim as it needs. Then we'll disengage that once we are stable. Visibility is not great. But we still got a while to go, so we're at 2,200 feet radio. We've got 213 as our minimums. A significant crosswind from the right, about 11 knots, jumping up between kind of 10 and 12. Okay, I was definitely looking at the wrong distance. So we weren't 5 miles from the runway, we were 5 miles from the outer marker. So we're all slowed up and all of that a little bit earlier than 100% necessary, but it's not the end of the world. Okay, there's a bit of rain now. This is not cool. If it's like this all the way down, I can see the ground. Okay, there's the outer marker, 1,200 radio. 3,839. Cool, that checks out. Okay, 3 miles from the runway. Yeah, I can just see the runway through the clouds, or through the fog, I suppose. Well, it's actually just raining. Yeah, that wind, crosswind is dropped to 9 knots. Our autopilot is struggling a little. I want to see if it actually fixes this. You can see the runway lights. Okay, it's dealing with it. 380 radio. Runway's in sight. So we're continuing. Let's disengage the autopilot and the yaw damper. Nice and bouncy once again. I think that beeping was the minimums. There's no like minimums call out. Very slippery on the runway. I know this is something that's happened with the PC-12 before. It kind of slides around on the ground. Try and keep it under control. Right. I think I've got it. That was also a little bit of me not decrabbing 100% before touching down. So. Quite a bit more of a landing run than the PC-12 should use, but we've got a nice long runway, I suppose. Might as well just turn around there at that intersection. Okay, since we're on the ground,
trim.
Let's get the condition into ground idle so we don't have the aircraft trying to run away. We can actually use this taxiway, to be honest. We don't have to backtrack if we go down here. Okay, landing lights and strobes come off. Altimeter back to standby. Yeah, the recognition lights we can probably turn off now. Landing was a bit rough, but yeah, I think I still had my rudder a little bit to one side when the nose wheel came down, which initially made it want to shoot off to the right, left, can't remember, but I think that's what started that whole thing, and then it was just a case of trying to get it under control with without overcorrecting. So it could have been a lot more graceful. Maybe it's a good thing we don't have any passengers on board. Right, but welcome to Bujumbura in Burundi. This is the military apron off to the side. So we're going all the way I think this is actually an old runway that isn't used anymore. We're going all the way, well, we're taking the next left and then to the end of the apron where we're gonna park up so that they can offload our precious cargo and hopefully get our Dash 7 heading back to Kilimanjaro this afternoon. Once everything is sorted with the Dash, then we'll be taking our PC-12 back to Kilimanjaro as well. But I don't think I'm going to include that in the video because we've already done plenty of flying for this episode. And in episode 10, because it is the 10th episode, we're going to have something also kind of special. Right, I don't think I actually put the flaps up. Okay, after landing, condition lever, ground out, of flaps up, exterior lights set, ice protection is off. I'm going to leave the inertial separator on for now. Radar we didn't actually use, and trim we need to reset. That's what that warning was about as well. Something like so. And back into the rain here as we come up to the apron. Where is the line? Oh, the vehicle's on the line. Let's just go past him. Maybe we should park here. Is there someone who's gonna wave us in? Yeah, let's maybe just do that. Why does it look like they're right on the taxiway? They're not ready. This dude needs to get out of the way though. Okay, let's turn the taxi lights off. Oh, this line is actually the edge of the taxiway. Okay, sorry, dude. Let's see if we can get parked up here rather than taxiing all the way out that way in the rain. Okay, so shutdown checklist, parking brake is set. We can then come down here and turn off the ECS. Let's get this out of the way for now. Taxi lights off. Transponder VFR in standby. Cooling and heating. And while we're here, we might as well turn these off as well. Avionics then can come off.
Avionics
Generators.
Warning, essential bus.
ITT, stable, condition lever to cut off. Why did she just disappear? That's interesting. Beacon light off. EPS switch set to off. Control wheel lock. We will put in. And then oxygen. I think that's fine. We didn't really change anything else there. That's cool. And then batteries. Right, there we are, safely in Bujumbura. As it seems like the rain is kind of closing in now, but successfully got our parts here. That was an interesting approach. I enjoyed doing those instrument approaches and trying to do them as accurately as possible. This time maybe it was a bit easy because we kind of just used the GPS to do most of the work anyway. But hopefully our parts can get onto the Dash 7 and that can be heading home a bit later. Hopefully the weather holds up enough that they can actually get out, and so can we later on. But anyway, that's going to bring us to the end of episode 9. Be sure to check out episode 10 because it is the 10th episode. We're going to be doing something a little bit special and kicking off a new route for the Neofly series. So if you do want to check that out, you know what to do down below, so you can stay tuned with new releases or new episodes of the Neofly series. If you did enjoy this video, you know what to do down below as well. And I will see you in the next one.